Oh, Christ, that's too loud. Can't get the balance right. So you'd have thought we'd test this stuff before we get going, yeah? Pros. Thank you, everyone. Are we good for the stream? We all good? Excellent. What a turnout. Thank you for coming along. To people who've been here before, and I know there's a few new people, which is always great to hear on these events. So thank you. This is volume 5 of the rebranded Cyber Scotland Connect. Yeah, woo, exactly, one woo in front. So our normal house rules, right? We have the Berlin Code of Conduct, which is an open source code of conduct if you want to go and read about it. Obviously, these are what we stick to. We're judgment-free, open and honest, sales-free, which is what we've always been running these events, and zero harassment. If you ever find out about anything happening at these events, please come and speak to us or somebody in confidence that helps with the group. Slido.com, if you want to ask some questions, we'll try and do a Q&A at the end if we're okay for time. So slido.com and then use the code CSC5. Try and refrain from any anonymous abuse, which we do see on some of them. What's that, sorry? Just at me. Comes with the territory. Right, so just some updates from me, really. What a year, right? This has been an incredible year for cyber security in Scotland as a whole. We're super proud to be part of it and do our own little bit for it. So thank you to everybody who's involved, who comes along to the events, to the people that make these happen. Thank you very much. The meetup group, so I think we're all using meetup.com for this event. They are being reasonably cheeky at the moment and about to ask people to pay $2 even for a free event. And they're putting the prices up. So fundamentally, we're going to move somewhere else, which is a shame because we've got 1,700 people on that platform, of which all of you have used that to come along today. So we're going to shift to something else. We don't know what that is yet. I think we've got some ideas, we've got some thoughts. So Twitter is probably the best place to follow us at the moment for information. Plans for 2020. So we're going to do less of these next year. That's the plan. We did 6 this year, I think, 5 or 6. They're a big investment in time. We're involved in lots of other things. So we're going to do 4 next year, I think, is probably the loose plan, and just really invest in making them as good as we can. The reason being is that we're involved in lots of other things as well. So we're doing day 2 at Scott Secure again. We're doing that workshop style thing that we did last year, which information will come out shortly about that. And then we're heavily involved with Scotland Cyber Week, which I'm sure lots of people are as well. So we've got some great speakers tonight, by the way, like a brilliant mix of speakers. So thank you to the speakers for committing to come along. And now I'm just going to hand over to Product Forge quickly for a quick update from them.
So I'll be super brief. As part of the National Cybersecurity Week, which you just heard about, so just after Scott Secure, we are running a 4-day health hackathon, running from the Thursday to the Sunday. So we'll have a cybersecurity track, and we'll be asking all of our teams at the event to be considering the topic of cybersecurity within healthcare. So if you're interested in, well, I'm going to say if you're interested in cybersecurity, but you definitely are, if you're here. If you're interested in cybersecurity in the healthcare sector, then come and say hello and potentially think about coming along to the event.
Thanks very much. I have to hold like 2 mics here. So Harry's going to do a little update on Cyber Scotland Connect. Do you want to flip that on, or do you just want to hold it?
Yeah, let's do that. Loving the new mic, by the way, Product Forge. It's very much more convenient than the cabled. Clickers is important. Hi everyone, my name's Harry McLaren. If you don't know me, I work for Adama as a product lead. You probably already know this, but this is just to reiterate. So just over a year ago really, when we kind of formally launched as Cyber Scotland Connect, this was what we defined as our mission and some of our core values. So Stu had already started up these meetups, and I had kind of on the side started up some smaller meetups, and we decided to merge under an organisation rather than just the events themselves. And I'm just going to do a really, really brief retrospective of what that collaboration has meant, and all the people, of course, that have tried to influence, help, and again support the community and get involved. So the less important stuff first, but still interesting for us to look back upon. And these are the kind of more social media and chat statistics. Not going to run through them, not going to read off the screen, but it's been really interesting to see that, as an organisation, as a brand, and as a representation of the community, we've been getting more and more influence and attention from the community and the wider community as well. We're now a representative on a number of public body boards about cyber skills and about the cyber community. We're being asked on our opinion, not just Stu and I, but as in to get the opinions from our community, from our moderators. And this has just been really, really interesting because we didn't really plan for any of that. We just kind of wanted to launch under a name that meant something a little bit unique. And then with Sophie's help, who created our brand, actually then having a brand was incredibly exciting. And so just to see, 1,770 people join the meetup and be interested to learn more about when we run events, to see the people that chat on Slack and follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. Just that interaction has been really super exciting and totally surprising. Wasn't anything we planned. We didn't have a social media strategy where we went out to try and build up these followings. This is completely organic, and it's just been really interesting. So a little bit more interesting as far as I'm concerned anyway. We have 18 moderators or mods. You can consider these people like our board. So we're not a charity, we're not a registered organisation, we're just a community group at the moment. But we don't want it to be the Harry and Stu show. We don't want it to be anyone's specific organisation. This belongs to the community. And like any community, communities need leaders, and they need people to come up and be willing to burden some of the tasks and activities. And we're very fortunate to have 18 awesome people that have come forward and say that they're willing to help burden that. Take that burden. So incredible thanks from Stu and I. We are two of those mods. There are no the head of the mods. We have a very gentle but open way of hopefully leading the community, and we're always looking for more people to get involved, to give us their opinions and their feedback. Including our smaller events, so we do sometimes do open mics, which are very much like this, but cut the number of the people down to 30, and the presenters down to people that don't necessarily need to have any presentation experience whatsoever. They don't even need to have a slide deck, and where would we be without PowerPoint? But they've also been really successful and really interesting. So they're much smaller, but they're designed at people that don't necessarily have the confidence to speak in front of 100 people, to be recorded, etc., to start to hone those skills and to maybe see if they've got something interesting to say, which so far I can safely say they all have. And it's been fantastic to see people literally on the night go, "I'll talk next," and literally just stand up, no prior warning, nothing whatsoever, and they've stood up. And so I think the first one who did it in one of the events talked about threat modeling for 15 minutes, and it was one of the best talks I've ever been to. It was so passionate, so interesting, no polish, but absolutely really interesting to hear about a topic that I didn't know much about at the time. We've had around 29 speakers. The open mics are a bit more difficult to count because I don't want to really be going, "Oh, you talked for 5 minutes and you talked for 10 minutes." But, so we've had close to 30 speakers out of events in the last 12, 13 months, which again is phenomenal. The amount of replication or duplication we've had there has been very, very low. We've had a very diverse collection of people from different sectors, from different backgrounds, and that's again been something we're very proud of. And, having the website being used is also really interesting, and good to see that our resources are being utilised. Just to point out, so in the last 12 months, we've gone out and we've brokered partnerships with the following organisations. I'm not going to read them all out, but it's been fascinating again to just go out to industry, go out to the public sector, go out to other charities and community-based organisations, and just ask them if they're interested in the same things we are, which is, building communities, building inclusive communities, and ones that try and support, educate and enhance for all of our good, right? We all benefit because we're stronger together than apart. And to have all of these individual organisations recognise that and say, yep, that's what we're into too, and that's essentially all they need to do to become a partner. There's no membership fee or anything like that. It's a very simple statement that just says we're committed to these similar values and we're committed to, when it makes sense, working together. So really proud of all these organisations that have made that commitment, and we hope to grow it further. And I think finally, a really big thank you to our supporters. They're essentially like our sponsors, as in they push resources our way which enable us to do what we do. None of it's cash. There is no money changing hands. These aren't getting their name out there because they've given us a cheeky 100 quid. But what they have done, just like Skyscan tonight, is they've provided an incredible space. They've provided us with refreshments, provided us with some food, and we're just really grateful for all these organisations for doing that. Some of them don't provide it in that way, so they provide us with media coverage. They've provided us with some advice when it came to kind of launching and just saying, well, look, publication and editorials is what we do. Here's some pointers. Napier, again, they've hosted some events, but they've also helped us understand how to maybe address the student community as well. And it's just been really great to have all those positive interactions with such great organisations. So I think that's us. We'll shortly with Brendan. The final thing I wanted to say is in 2020, we're going to take all of this awesome work and we're just going to try and capitalise on it. We're going to try and extend it, bring more partners in, bring more supporters where appropriate. But now comes what next? So we run events. They're awesome events. Massive fan of the events as an attendee or speaker. But we're now trying to decide what to do with this power, so to speak. And we're looking for you to help direct that. We don't really want to just kind of go, well, I think this is a good idea, so we're just going to do this. We've got some great ideas, I think, within the moderators, but we also want to hear from the community at large what your ideas are. I can't promise they can all happen, but please do reach out, Slack, Twitter, LinkedIn, come and find one of us later on, and we'll listen, take some notes, and hopefully follow up in the new year. So thank you very much. And over to Tony and the Turing testers.
Thank you. Cool. Thank you very much. Hi everybody, so my name is Tony Scullion and this is one of my Turing testers. Unfortunately the other one's ill tonight, but she is watching, so hi Tony, wherever I'm waving. So just to say thank you as well to Stuart and Harry. These are my Turing testers 2.0, but I've actually had the original Turing testers here, so it seems to be like an ongoing thing, and it's great to be a partner as well because they're doing such amazing work. So just to kind of give you a brief introduction about like what we are doing. So I am a full-time computing science teacher, but I'm also founder of a charity Dress Code and then also founder of the Turing testers, but they're the real stars. So I'm just going to kind of skip through a little bit and then just hand over to Clara. But we're actually trying to inspire the next generation of cyber talent. So it's about getting kids inspired in like at primary school and at secondary school as well. So we've done quite a lot of work with cyber treasure hunts. So there's one going on just now, but Clara will talk more about that later on. And we've had quite a lot of interest from industry, which has been amazing. So we've done one with Skills Development Scotland, and we've got like the data lab coming up as well. So there's lots of opportunity to get involved if that's something that you'd like to help out with. So this is kind of the reason why we're doing what we're doing. And I don't know if you'll be aware of these statistics. So computing science at school, the recent figure shows that there was a 21% drop in computing science, like the uptake. So that's boys and girls, so that was at higher. And it's the biggest uptake in any subject in Scotland. So the subject at school level is really like getting like hammered, like it's not doing well. And we know, obviously, the people in this room, you know, it's such an important subject, it's such an important area. And then, of course, there's areas like cybersecurity that we really need to push and keep the talent and encourage the talent coming from school level. And then the drop at National 5 as well, it's just shown that the decline's actually now going from like 4th year to like, instead of just 5th year as well. And if you cannot capture the talent at high school, like you've got no hope. Like, of course, you'll still get a little bit of talent when you come from universities and things, that's fine. But if you can't capture a 12-year-old's imagination, like, then like what's the point? Like, it's really bad. So myself and Tony and Clara, the Turing testers, we're really, really passionate about inspiring more kids, and we've found like cybersecurity is such a good way in, and the kids absolutely love it. So our competition we've got going just now, we've got 10% of schools in Scotland taking part across 17 councils. And again, I'm a full-time teacher and she is doing a hire. So it's pretty good considering we're not like in industry or anything. So we're doing pretty well and we're getting really good interest. And then just to show you what Dress Code is, so Dress Code's part of this as well. So we've got a teacher portal, and Dress Code actually just focuses on girls because, again, there's not a lot of girls taking the subject. There's not a lot of girls in like cyber and other areas as well. So we're really trying to empower girls. And so it's great to have the Turing testers who are senior girls really like promoting that as well. So I've got a teacher portal where teachers can sign up, but it's all free. And then we've got a pupil portal that introduces girls to games design, cybersecurity, so they learn how to make their own cybersecurity treasure hunts. They can take part in the Turing Test for cybersecurity, app development and web development as well. So it's really, really good. And again, that's just going strength to strength, and we've won a few awards, which is very exciting. And as well, we've got, I think we're over 19 councils now, so there's only 32 in Scotland, so we're doing pretty well. And then we've got adverts and posters going, so I'm going to showcase our advert that we got made. Hopefully there's sound, I don't know if it'll play. But nobody's seen this, so you guys are the first, so it'd be great to hear your opinions. The whole kind of thought process behind this is because I think when you talk to kids, unless you're like Tia, wherever she is, who was also next people, Tia, computing science, I think a lot of kids think, it's boring, it's rubbish, and so that really irritates me. And then being a teacher, I get lots of posters from, government and, standard posters that you're meant to put up, and they look really good, I think, if you're an adult, but for a kid, I'm like, that's rubbish, they're not interested. So what I've tried to do is, inspiration obviously from Trainspotting here, and we've got a hashtag Choose Computing Science, and I think one of the reasons behind this is because I think if you try and capture a kid's imagination and then they're still not interested, you tell them, look how much money you can make, look where you can go in the world. So that's kind of my last card. So we've got this amazing poster, but then, like I said, we've actually got an advert made as well. So it's about 29 seconds. It isn't inspired by Trainspotting, so there's no drugs and stuff in it. But I'll show you it just now. But it'd be great to hear your thoughts because nobody's seen this. So here we go. Will it play? It might not. Oh, that's a big. Yeah, that's embarrassing. Don't worry. If not, I'll put it on Twitter and you can have a wee look. It's all right. Never mind. Right, I'll tweet it out if not. No. Is it all right? Okay, never mind. We'll tweet it out. Right, we'll tweet it out. Never mind. But I'll tweet it out, and again, feel free, please, give me feedback on it because it's still sort of in the early stages. But it really pretty much is. It's got the same theme, choose Scotland, choose money, choose travel, choose great offices. Because again, when you walk in here, I'm 34 and walking here, and I'm I want to work here already. And it's if a 12-year-old comes into offices like this, they're yours. So we know that it's such a good project and it's such a good subject to pick, but it's just really trying to get that message across. So I'm going to plan on making more of these and really just kind of get the message out that computing is essential. It's required in everything that you do, any industry, and it's really, really exciting. And so there's more opportunities to get involved, which Clara will go over as well. So I will hand over to the lovely Clara.
So this is just education and industry and companies and how they can get involved. So one of the things that we enjoy doing is hackathons. So that's a day where your company hosts loads of first year girls and they get given a challenge to code. We've had a prom invite and there was also one where they had to choose what they wanted to talk about and design a website. And yeah, they really enjoy that. And it's just to raise awareness. And then we've also got a dress code industry challenges. And then so you partner a dress code and you just create a competition and we talk to you about it and we interact and yeah, we just support each other and then help the next generation and encourage them. And then you can also co-brand events. So we always are looking for more opportunities. We're happy to collaborate with anyone if we think your values match ours at all. And then the founder of the Turing Testers were last year. They've just they're all in university now, and there's some of the awards that they've won, and they were absolutely amazing. So they were senior girls, and then me and Tony carried that legacy on. As I said earlier, Tony's not here because she's ill, which I think's outrageous. But and then so this is what we're doing to try and encourage girls to get into cyber. So we do cyber workshops, and we did a couple back-to-back workshops at West Lothian College, just on ciphers, and we used our Harry Potter competition that we'd done before. And there was quite a lot of age groups there, so that wasn't just for all girls, that was anyone doing computing in West Lothian College. And a lot of people really enjoyed that actually. And then we're doing We've done treasure hunts as well. We've got one running just now until the end, like until schools break up. And there's also going to be a final in April for that. And as Miss Gillian said earlier, 17 councils are doing it, so like all over Scotland. We didn't expect that many people, so that was really good. And then we've also got a cybersecurity campaign. So that's just to promote cybersecurity rather than computing as a whole. And we're looking for like you guys as well. So like to take a video and go cybersecurity is, and just say like what you think cybersecurity is, like inspiring and amazing. So no pressure, but it's just like cybersecurity is lots of money and amazing, and it's just all of that. So thank you.
But if anybody would like to get involved in that, because like Clara says, that's for Cyber Scotland Week. So we've managed to secure like an FBI agent, which is the best thing ever. And then we've got a guy from NCSC as well. And then these two have to do it. But like, so if anybody would be up for that, because it'd be so good. And I think as well, it's about having, you guys. I mean, like, I'm in industry, like I'm in education, like, and it's brilliant. So get involved, and we'll just kind of slowly release it across the week. So like, please reach out. Like, there's our details, and if anybody would like to help with it, that'd be awesome. Thank you very much. Cheers.
So please help promote it and push it out, and your social media, whatever you can do. Just going to change some slides over here, bear with me. We haven't automated this yet. Tia, where's Tia? Where's Tia? Tia, come on down. So just before she starts, Tia came to me about 3 years ago when I was working here for Skyscanner. And basically asked to do, was it 2 weeks work experience or a week? 1 week work experience. And she came in and she sat with the team and helped us out and got a feel for what the cyber industry is about at an awesome organisation. Oh, not me. And then she sent me a really nice card afterwards saying, this is the industry I want to get into. And to this day, it kind of, it's like, oh, right there, man. So it's really, really awesome to see her back here and presenting in this room of people. So thank you very much. And over to you. Where's the clicker? You got the clicker there?
No.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, right, okay. Awesome. So in case you didn't know what the talk was, it's the Secret Life Bad USBs. Funny that. Please leave questions to the end. I am dyspraxic, so if you ask a question, I'll lose my train of thought, and I'll be like, USBs, yeah, they're really cool. So yeah, please leave it at the end. Who am I? Not everyone knows me here. So I'm Tia C. I'm _C on Twitter. That's some really beautiful pictures of me. I'm second year Abertay hacker, so if you ask me a question, I'll give you a blank look. It's probably because I don't know that yet. I'm a newbie to the InfoSec scene. Kind of like Stuart said, I've been in for about 3 years, so I was still in college when I came here, and then I went to Abertay. Especially getting women into STEM, we get a lot of stuff like you thoughts just want pussy privilege, hence the shirt, InfoSec thought leader. Sorry, Tony. So yeah, I'm just a thought wanting pussy privilege. That's why I'm here. So what we'll be covering tonight is not about thoughts wanting pussy privilege, but what is a bad USB, how a USB works, the history of them, the types out there, what they can do, what attacks they can carry out, how to prevent them, where to get your own one if you want one, and questions. What is a bad USB? We're not talking about these ones. These are absolutely horrific. My mum was like, it's so cute, I want one. It's like, no, it's not. It's really not. A bad USB is really any USB that is bad. So these can be programmed to be bad, like the ones we're going to talk about, or these can store the bad within them. These are regularly known as rubber duckies. If anyone's not familiar with the Untitled Goose Game, you will be now. It's a lovely day in the office and you're a horrible hacker. My little Photoshop a hacker goose. So rubber ducky is essentially the goose in Untitled Goose Game. It's just there to cause havoc and do what it wants. Can't stop it, it's going to do it. You can make a honk if you want, if you really, really want. It's essentially what it is. It doesn't really care about signs or telling no. It's really nasty to people. It can be quite dangerous, like the one with a knife, if you want it to be. So how a bad USB works, how your normal USB works is it normally has plug and play ability. So each USB has a descriptor within it. So for example, if you've got USB flash drive as a storage device, for a keyboard as a keyboard, for a mouse as mouse, pretty self-explanatory. The USB gets plugged into the computer reads the descriptor, says, okay, that's a good USB as a keyboard, let it do its thing. This is how the bad USB manipulates that. The descriptor's set to a keyboard in a bad USB, so the computer believes there's a HID. We simply code the keystrokes that we want that bad USB to do, and the USB types the attack out in a computer. It's essentially that. It really is as simple as that. Plain and simple, descriptor set to keyboard, you essentially just say, type this out, execute it, that's it. So the history behind them, everyone knows what Stuxnet is. Yeah. Nuclear facility was air-gapped, so you can't just send a wee email saying, oh, hey, this is a really dodgy link, but click it, please. There was no really easy way to get a virus in, apart from a USB. So the viruses and malware are really easy to transport in a USB. It's a flash drive, pop it on, that's it. Kind of dumb though, it doesn't execute it. You physically need to be there to execute that code. But what if it's too big for the USB? Especially some of the viruses you're getting nowadays, not really fit for a USB. USB storage devices are getting bigger. Sometimes they're still too big. What if there's a storage device policy on the machines? Some clever people have that on it. You try to pop that in, it says, oh, that's a USB. No way, right? It's not happening. What if you manually execute the payload, but you don't have physical access? Say you're doing some social engineering, doesn't go through, your USB's just lying there, no one's going to use it. In 2010, the rubber ducky was born. The rubber ducky was born out of pure laziness, so the founder essentially went, I'm too lazy to actually sit down and type all this code out. He popped it in his own wee rubber ducky, and that was it. Bad USB market has grown and grown, like you're going to see later on. There is a huge range of bad USBs, and some aren't even USBs anymore. There's cables and Ethernet adapters too. Hack5 had their LAN turtle, so that's essentially a man-in-the-middle attack for your network adapter. So what types of bad USBs can we get? Everyone knows what a rubber ducky is. This is industry standard. This is the OG bad USB, so this is what we're talking about. It is a seriously powerful piece of kit. It delivers your payload within seconds. You know, having to wait around for triggers, so having to wait for them to click on something, it does it instantly. It utilises SD cards to store beefier payloads, so I don't know if you can see this big brick of a thing. The only thing about this is it's incredibly expensive, so it's about £50 a pop. So if you want to chuck about 10 in a car park, that's £500 down the drain. The SD card can be a bit of a faff. So if I go back, you can see you have to use this. So you pop your SD in there, transfer your payload on, have to take the SD back out, put the SD back into there, put the case back on the rubber ducky, execute the attack, and if you want another attack, you're going to have to do the same thing all over again, and if you've not got nails, it is incredibly difficult. Going to have to go through that again. It's not the best thing to be thrown around the place. As I said, £500 for 10 of them. There are cheaper, but there's less powerful alternatives available. For example, the Cactus. I don't know why it's called the Cactus. I had this question before, still can't find out. It seems pretty smooth. This is essentially the rubber ducky on steroids. It has its own Wi-Fi, which is pretty nice. Yeah, it's cool. The reason why it has it is you can remotely upload and choose the payloads you want to run. So essentially, looks like a USB, plug in, does nothing. You can actually sit and wait to execute that payload. So for example, they could be away at the toilet, they've left their computer unlocked. You can do what you want with it. You can remotely execute them, so you can upload them, pop them in, that's it. Or you can, as I said, wait for them to go to the toilet or whatever. It comes in at about £10. It is super cheap. I have one. It is the best thing ever to happen. I don't know why it's got the weed symbol for it. Yeah, maybe they like that, I don't know. It has its own app, which is pretty nifty. I don't have an Android though, so I can't use it. If you don't have an Android, don't despair. They have a web app. Very handy. You can kind of see it on this one. So you've got like upload, payload, all that stuff. You can choose your payload if you've uploaded them already. And it has its own little built-in script. So you can upload Duckwino, which is rubber ducky scripts, to Arduino. That's so helpful. That's kind of what it looks like outside its case. Definitely not much memory as the rubber ducky. The rubber ducky has SD cartridge, so you can have more beefier payloads. That doesn't, unfortunately. Wi-Fi is discoverable by everyone, and trying to configure that so it's not is an absolute nightmare. I've tried it and I've cried, so yeah. It's definitely not as fast as our competitors. I tried one and it had taken 10 minutes to execute. That was dire. This also bricks after heavy use, which is about 10 uses. And trying to reflash it made me cry again. Bash Bunny, everyone heard of that? Put your hands up if you have. Right, okay. This is a brick. This is a rubber ducky on twice as many steroids, and it's also on testosterone. The memory is large enough for about 2 big payloads. So as you can probably see just there, it's got a little switch. You flick the switch to change the payload. The descriptors on this thing is mad, so some of them to note is a gigabyte Ethernet, your serial, your flash memory, your keyboard. So essentially it's got so many different ways you can attack it. This is essentially that kind of goose. That's the only way to put it, is it's an absolute monstrosity. That's not a monstrosity, that's cute. It is a big brick of a USB, so don't chuck that about the car park, it's not going to get picked up. You can't conceal it like a normal USB because it is a brick. Takes a few seconds to start up, then it executes its attack. So if you wanted something nice, quick and simple, don't go for that. This is £130 for a single Bash Bunny, hence why I've not got one yet. I'm a student, I can't afford that. Something I can afford is a Raspberry Pi Zero. I've not bought it yet though. So this uses PwnPy as an attack platform. So essentially PwnPy makes this nice little Raspberry Pi and a pen test device. Kind of like an OS, but not really. This allows for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connections, so it's like one up from the Cactus WHID. Loads of ports to stick stuff in if you really want to. So you've got your HDMI, your USB, it's got a camera port if you want to use that, and an SD card. This comes at $9.30 each. Only thing about it is actually the PwnPy, the coolest features. It's got a Windows locks picker. So if you've got Windows box with a weak password, they've locked it before they went to the toilet, no bother, it's going to kick it in, it'll crack it within seconds. It also has a HID covert backdoor, so this gets a reverse shell. It does obfuscate the process within the process listing, which is pretty nifty. It also has a covert front door, which is just a Python shell, which obfuscates the process listing. Takes a lot of configuring to set up. This is another one I have cried about. You can't just plug it in, which I've also cried about. I can't even mind the name for that thing, but it's a thing now. That's horrific. It's really difficult to conceal it and hide it due to the look and the size. You can get a case, it's huge. It's not great for beginners, as I found out. So the DigiSpark ATT Tiny 85 development board, or just the DigiSpark USB. These are super cheap. They're £1 a USB, hence why I use them for the workshops, because I'm cheap. They're really useful to throw around car parks and buildings if that's what you want to do. You can customise the cases for them to replicate company USBs, like so, if you want a wee rubber ducky on it. Totally not inconspicuous. Just plug it in and let it go is definitely, yeah. It requires a lot of setup to get started, so if anyone's been to the workshops and seen how long it actually takes to get the Arduino installed and the drivers installed and actually get the attacks running, yeah. USBs can be bricked straight out the pack. These come from China, so I think maybe 1 out of every 5 is bricked. You have to custom build cases as well, so if you're not rich like me, like, oh no, wait, if you're, yeah, that makes sense, I can't mind. I don't have a 3D printer because I'm poor. If you have one, great, you can do custom cases, that's what I was trying to say. These have little to no memory space, so they're good for little attacks or pranks. I do have a few to give away tonight if anyone's interested. It's not just USBs, however, I added this on the chain. So OMG cable, I don't know if anybody's heard of this is like kind of new. This is just a bad USB, but it's in lightning cable form. It's similar to the Cactus WHID, it does have internet that you can connect to. Has preloaded attacks on the actual app. It looks incredibly convincing and it also charges the phone at the same time. So Yeah, I've said similar to Cactus WHID. I've had 4 hours sleep, I do apologise. So you can use the app to upload these attacks. So the only thing that would kind of give it away that's a bad USB is this little bit here saying, OMG! That's it. That's the nice little web app for it. It's very nice, very sexy, very sleek. That is a video, but it's probably not going to work. Oh, shit! Sorry! Yeah, that's bricked, so I'm not going to play that. Essentially, oh, it's working. Oh, okay. Apologise for swearing. So this is just kind of demonstration of what the OMG cable can do. So they've not actually got it connected to a phone, it's just connected into the laptop. So this is the kind of web app that they've got for it. Very nice, very sleek, very sexy, yep. So this one's a lock screen payload, which is essentially a really easy way to just cred snatch without having to go through Mimikatz and things like that. He's sending a distraction right now, as you can tell. She's distracted. He's running the payload. Oh, there we go, he's running it. Hence why I need a distraction in the console. And the screen's locked. What's she going to do? Very intense. Very intense. She going to do it? She done it. And so, as you can see at the very, very top of his phone, he's got the creds. Simple as that. So many of the bad USBs do take a couple of seconds to do that. The OMG cable is just a really nice, fancy way of doing that. Instead of having to throw USBs at people or be like, oh, can you plug this in for me? You just give them a charging cable, that's it. Say, oh, you need to charge your phone, here you go. Simple. Brand new one is the Demon Seed EDU. This is a younger version of the OMG cable. The actual guy that made it said you'll need about 1,000 of these to actually match the OMG cable. The great thing about these is it's not just a lightning cable that you can use them in. You can use them in lightning, micro, any kind of cable. Really great if you enjoy hardware hacking. Hardware hacking makes me cry. They do cost around £40, which is actually really cheap for Hack 5 equipment. So that's that there. As you can see, that's the USB bits there. You just plug that in there, pop it in there, stick that bit in there. There you go. Some soldering required, but you know. How can we actually get the bad USBs in once we've got them? You've got your bad USB, you've loaded your attacks on it, you need to get it into the office, so the office is going to be our target. How do you do it? Very good question. There's a few ways we can actually do this. You can use a costume. So, you know your victim, you know what equipment to kind of use, disguise your USB in a nice new fancy keyboard for them. You know that they go through them, they hammer the keys, so you know they break them a lot. Or you're really not sure what to use a USB gimmick. So I actually have a couple here. This thing is the most dangerous thing I think I've actually bought off Amazon. There's not a shut-off switch, so it's a USB cup warmer. This bit's hot glued on at the bottom. It reaches 80 degrees, but it doesn't have a safety shut-off. We left it for 4 hours and the thing kind of melted at the bottom. So yeah, as well as desk fans, we use them a lot in the Hack Lab. They're really easy to manipulate. You just cut the bottom off, stick a Demon Seed on it, and that's it. They're getting binned tonight. So as you can see just at the bottom of this mouse, so for example, we know our victim goes through a lot of mice. I don't know what they do to them, they just go through a lot of mice. The USB's just in here, soldered on with some wires. The mouse will turn on, it won't react. But what you can do is you can pop up a little message saying, oh, we're just installing the drivers for this mouse, just wait a couple of seconds. That's you've popped the shell. USB plasma balls, that's what that desk fan was supposed to be. I did order a plasma ball, but it didn't come. It was for this fan instead. Once again, USB just installed down here, nice and covert. This one does turn on and it looks very pretty, so they're going to be distracted with that anyway. So, the OMG cable, again, is its own built-in costume, which is great. Simple social engineering, you don't even need to know your victim that well to actually get them to plug in USBs. Just get a few of them, get a few pretty cases on them, throw them in high traffic areas, so like car parks, outside doors, things like that. Places people are going to pick them up. Does it really work, you're probably thinking? So in 2016, the University of Illinois dropped 297 USBs around their campus on different places. So canteens, car parks, libraries, classrooms, hallways, high traffic areas. 98% were picked up and removed from where they were dropped. 45% of these, which is 198 of them, were plugged into a computer and files were accessed. This tweet, find this USB today at campus. Does anybody know the owner maybe? I'll keep it for myself if I don't find it. Check what's saved in there. Maybe I'll give you clues about the owner. Don't do that, please don't, please. So those accessed files were given a survey to fill out about why they picked the USB up. So there was HTML files on it. So whenever they clicked a file, the surveyors were actually told that someone had opened it and a survey was opened. 68% of those said they wanted to find the owner and return the USB. So playing on that social engineering, I need to help them get their USB back, could have files on it, things like that. 18 said they were simply curious as to what was on the USB. Yet again, curiosity killed the cat. 2 people said they just wanted a USB. Like, that's a mood. Some of the USBs actually had dummy keys on them. This made them want to get those keys back ASAP, so it kind of plays in that, oh my god, someone's left their keys, I need to get it back as soon as possible. Let me just plug in this USB and find out who they belong to. Now I've got a virus. Something that I didn't actually include was some of them plugged them in, and the reason they said they plugged them in was because they had a Mac, they didn't have to worry. I mean, that's a mood, but it doesn't really work. Simple social engineering, get your case USBs, put some tape on them, write anything on them that's going to invoke them to plug them in. It can be anything from curiosity to urgency. So, Sony funny video, Bitcoins, confidential, OSCP walkthrough for the entire exam. I don't know if anybody's seen these ones before. They're like little wristbands that have got USBs on the end of them. Might have seen this one on Reddit. So essentially, John Deere were handing these out to people at their conferences. They're bad USBs that redirect them to their website. Macs are incredibly hard to actually get with these, for the simple fact is you kind of need to type stuff in where you plug in keyboards. The absolute killer to this is that the website's not even secure. Like, really, you're going to give out bad USBs and send them to a HTTP site? Like, okay. They got a lot of flack for this, and they just kind of went, well, it's not our problem. And it's like, but you're giving out bad USBs that are that powerful for free. Oh, it's not our problem, though. It's cool. It's like, oh, okay. You can just social engineer your own way in and just plug it in yourself, or you can just do a John Deere and hand them out at conferences. The attacks you can carry out on them, they're capable of a range of attacks. They can be simple pranks from what my workshops are, because I don't want to teach us actual bad things. They can be using mimikatz to snatch creds and send out an attacker. Completely dependent on you as the attacker and the USB that's being used. Can be stuff like screen lockdowns for pranks, ransomware pranks, ghost notepads, mouse loader prank, infinite rickroll, talker attack, to some really nasty things like reverse shell backdoors, machine cred snatching, virus deployment, disabling antivirus software, Wi-Fi cred snatching, Chrome cred snatching. The Chrome cred one's incredibly powerful, so if you've saved any of your passwords in Chrome, it will steal them and it will send them on. You can prevent them happening, of course. Oh, hello. How do we prevent them? Software countermeasures. Blacklisting is your friend. I'm not a sysadmin, so I do apologise if anything that I say now is a bit like, ooh, okay. Similar to blacklisting IPs, you can blacklist unknown devices. That's if you want to use a USB that's legit. You're going to have to go to your sysadmin and say, this is fine, trust me. And then they're going to be, I'm not trusting you, especially if it's me. I've got a kind of reputation in the uni. You don't accept that USBs off me now. A few of the AV vendors do have protection against bad USBs. They either make the keyboards type a code, or it monitors USB's behaviour. It is really simple. It can be bypassed. So, for example, the keyboard's typing a code. You got that you got that remote exploitation. You can see what the code is. You send it. That's it. So essentially, your bad USB is just going to attack you. Hardware countermeasures. I don't know if anybody's used port lockers before. Easy to install, easy to buy. Only downfall is they are really easy to remove if you have the key. So these ones in particular, the colour is the same as on a key. So if you've got green ports, green key unlocks it. You've got red ports, the red port unlocks it. It is simple, stupid. They're also really easy to pull out with tweezers. The only downfall, as I said, you can buy these types of keys online. Go on Amazon. It's £5 for a single key. Kensington have their own range. If anyone knows, Kensington is absolutely extortionate, but they do work. You can't just pick the port lock out either. You'll damage the computer. You need a key. You can't buy it online. You actually need to go to the retailer themselves and get it. Or logical countermeasures. Some teams these might not work, but so you can have USB and removable media policies for companies. This is something that some companies are starting to implement. I've seen a couple on Twitter saying they're doing it. Lock your PC while you're away. That's a big one. Not a lot of people do that. Telling friends, family, and co-workers about plug-in random USBs in. That's another one. My mum is ridiculous for it. I'll leave USBs lying. She'll plug them in going, why is my laptop bricked? It's like, that's because of a bad USB. What's a bad USB? It's like, right, okay, I'll tell you when I get home. If you do want to buy one, go to these places and links. They are the proper certified links to go to. If you don't, you're going to get stuff like this. This is the first time I went on AliExpress. The very first thing that came up was sex balls. I don't know why, but it was like, okay, this is going to be fun. So all those USBs I've just talked about, that's them right up there, just plastic wrapped in a black plastic, and they're trying to sell them on for $30. Bear in mind, this one is like literally £1. Yeah, but remember, it has a remote with it, so it's worth it. I don't actually know what the remote does. I think they've just taken an LED remote and just plugged it with it, being like, yeah, you get a remote, it's pretty cool. Or this one, 360-degree intelligent automatic electric toothbrush, children, teeth, whitening blue, light USB, U type 2, modes, remove bad breath. This looks like a torture device. I don't know how you're supposed to brush your teeth with it. I think it whitens their teeth, but mother, don't have to worry about my teeth. I have no idea what it is, but it's $4, so it must be good. Another one, the custom name Bad Girls Deadlift 3D LED nightlight fitness women powerlifting decorative bedroom sleepy USB LED lamp gift for her. $16, it's bargain. Now this one. I don't know if anybody can recognise the USB already, but this is the Raspberry Pi Zero. They're selling it on for £20. They've ripped off the Hack 5 rubber ducky description and just popped it in. Oh, Jesus. The killer is that it's the plug-in access PC Mac system, no password typing anymore. It's like, the fact they're selling it on for £20 is brilliant. That's just some entrepreneurship that I want to be. That's the level I want to be at. So if anybody's looking for these, I'm selling them. Yeah, so just use the links provided and you'll be fine. There is a lot worse that I found and I'm not putting them on there because I don't want to scar anyone. Does anybody have any questions? Or you can ask at the end. I'll hand out the USBs, which is fine. Thank you very much for listening. Jesus Christ.
Thank you very much. Awesome. Well, we'll do questions at the end, yeah? We'll just make sure that all that's legal, right? Wherever sites you're going to. Sorry if you're online. I'll just drop the mic. Right, 2 secs while we change over. Switch the sound. Yeah, I was just about to do that. The sound was somebody sending me a Slack message at 8 o'clock at night, which is...
Yeah, what comes on first?
I think we've got
So we used to. Perfect. Lovely. Yeah, stick it on there. Clip it on wherever. That's good.
No videos here, so.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Harry.
Thanks, Harry. It's awesome to see everyone here today. We're going to talk about security at DevOps speed. If you thought you were coming to DevOps at security speed, sorry, that's next door, down the hall. My name's Callum Wilson, and this is my partner in crime, Jerry.
Hello.
When did we start first work together?
Well, I was going to say it was 30 years ago, but I'm only 26 and you're 27.
Yeah, so I was about -3 when we first started working together.
This DevOps is a hard paper round, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about DevOps. what is DevOps? When I first started working at DevOps, I was sent that slide, and I thought, all right, this is going to be a little bit tricky. And then I looked it up online and found that. Click. You went full DevOps. Never go full DevOps. Next. Next. Right, so in here, who has heard of DevOps? Put your hands up. All right, everyone. Oh, shit. Whoops, we're going to be...
Well, we're preaching to the converted.
Right,
so
okay, right.
easy,
Everyone keep the hands up. Keep the hands up. Who has been doing DevOps for 2 years? Right, few people still have hands. Keep the hands up. Come on, just keep the hands up. Who's been doing DevOps for 5 years? Right, liars. Right, so basically, DevOps has been around for quite a long time. This is the kind of description of it. Is everyone didn't speak Latin here? No, I did woodwork. Contubernum, and which button do you press? That one there.
Yeah.
Right.
No, the right one was working for me. Yep.
Yeah. See, DevOps.
Yeah.
Contubernum. So DevOps has actually been around for quite a while. It's actually been around since Roman times, and Contubernum is essentially a group, or a squad. You know, like the army today is exactly the same. You get squads of small numbers of people who work on a common cause. And essentially, Contubernum was around sort of 7, 8 people plus 2 slaves. So it's usually around about sort of 10 people. And this is quite an interesting group, because as soon as you start to build a group of soldiers at more than 10 people, you start getting supply line problems, supply chain problems, communication difficulties. And so the Romans figured this out some time ago, that this was the perfect number of people to work together in a team. It took software 2,000 years to figure this out. And here we are today. Now, what's really interesting as well, but we're going to start coming into how software DevOps works and how it works with security. And in security, you always say, you know, protect your ass, protect your assets, sorry. They had one too, actually, fun enough, ahead of the curve. And so the team were given responsibility to look after their assets, which was a tent, which is all the same sort of pattern as all the Roman contubernums had, and their own transport. And they were basically responsible for all of this. They worked as a very close team and quite close unit. And I like the fact that they were rewarded, but also punished. Jerry, how were they punished?
Well, the Romans were quite serious about their DevOps, actually. If you fell asleep on watch, you were generally hauled up and sentenced to death. But in true DevOps style, they got everybody involved in your team, beat you to death. And we have discussed this, haven't we? But we can't get it by HR.
Yeah, HR have been a bit
After
blocking
that
us on
last
that one.
incident,
After that time, yeah.
But yeah, so we'll come on to a little bit about this afterwards. But yeah, you were given local control, but with that control came great responsibility.
Well, and punishment, as it turned out. So obviously, the Roman army was built up with quite a lot of these. And you probably, if you didn't do woodwork, you would have learnt about cohorts, which is around about 400 people, then a century, and all the sort of units of 10 until you got to a Roman legion. And each team would have its own role in life, being the watchers, the raiders, the cooks, whatever it is. But really, with DevOps, it's exactly the same. So a DevOps feature team uses the new words. You might be used to things called projects. The world of DevOps is different. It focuses on what the end goal of the team is. And so you start to actually bring this team together, and they become like the A-team. That's a bit 80s reference, isn't it?
It is.
So basically, you've got everyone here.
We are of that era. Unfortunately,
Before that era.
We're not actually 20.
So you get your automation engineer, your product guy, infrastructure, your tester. Oh, yeah, a tester, and the slaves, or the grads who are joining the team. So, and that team all sit together really close by, and they've got all the bits and pieces that they need. Yeah, we had to cross that off because of HR constraint, but basically teams succeed and fail as a unit, and they work very close together. But in DevOps, we're starting to use some DevOps words like velocity. How hard do they work? How much can they get through? How skilled are they? Is it really an A team or is it a B team? What is it that they do? They'll choose what they want to do. They have a lot of empowerment to say, this is the team, this is what I want to do. And in the world of security, that can also be quite pressurizing, especially if you work in a large financial here in Edinburgh, or you work in a regulated industry. You're thinking, well, wait a minute, who are these guys? They're telling me that they're not going to follow my security rules. What's going on? And so this deck is really we're going to start talking about is how did we manage to control this beast? DevOps studio, we don't have an office, we have a studio. And basically each team, we have lots of these feature teams all doing their own thing. And I think some of them are really good, some of them are not so good, some of them require a lot more security oversight. But the thing which we want to talk about today is we created one of those. And we were adopting the methodologies, if you can't beat them, join them. So we actually started to use DevOps against our DevOps devs to see if we could beat them at their own game. And that's the story we're about to tell. But there's a lovely thing, and we've been using this a lot. So if your company is moving into DevOps, use this. And it's about responsibility. You know, you talk to your DevOps teams, you say, you build it, you know, you own it, you're responsible for it. And we don't have this concept of security has to sign off. We don't have signing off anymore. And so when you start to understand the responsibility, and you look back at, say, for example, the Roman guys with their decanus, which is the team leader for that area, you know, that feature team, they're responsible for what they actually do. Oh, another Slack message, Stu. A lot of principles of Agile come into the world of DevOps, and this all came about from the 1980s and 1990s Toyota factory. It's a Tesla factory, but it's kind of a nicer picture. And basically, what they realized is that if you have a production line, I've been to the Ford Fiesta plant in Dagenham, where basically bits of metal arrive in one side and just-in-time inventory, and they drive a car off the other production line. It is amazing how they can do that. And they do it because they're streamlining the process of building vehicles, quite a complex instrument with thousands of parts, so it can all go through that factory and be built. If you've got one indicator bulb missing, then you can't drive the car off. And this is one of the big theories of Agile and DevOps is blocking. And blocking is when something on your production line is stopping you from succeeding. And quite often, it's the security guys. I've been that person. I've been that person saying, stop what you're doing. That's not acceptable. And so everything in DevOps is about making sure that all things that are blocked. So think about things that block you from day to day. You know, getting a tax disc for your car online. Oh God, I've got to wait. I've got to get my credit card. I've got to do this. I've got to sign up for that. And all these sort of things, they block you from actually achieving your work. In the same way that DevOps are trying to build good quality software and quickly and fast and get it out to market before everyone else. So they do things like swarming, where if something is blocked, you get everyone on the production line to start fixing that thing, because that is the single most important thing in your developer studio to fix. The DevOps guys will work with very small units of work, and some of the older audience in here, I can see a few, including myself, got grey hair. Jerry's 26. We used to work with requirements, specifications, design specification, and by the time that
architecture documents, test plans. Can you remember all those?
No, I don't do them anymore. And these things would take basically 6 months to build, and by the time you got them all signed off by this, that, and the next person, essentially everyone had forgotten what they were making in the first place. And by the time that you actually gave it to the guys actually producing the code or producing the system, and it got to market, and by the time it had been tested, then pen tested, it was already too late to market. So DevOps is about doing very small units of work and making lots of small changes to things all the time. And with that, having very clear acceptance of what actually you're meant to be doing. So if you get it wrong, you just reverse it out and do it again. There's actually a little Kanban board up there for the geeks amongst you. I only noticed that afterwards. So a conveyor belt in software, it all starts with stories. I'd like to have see my bank balance. Those are coded is checked in, small bits of code into source control. Things are built, artifacts are created, and then you release. And in the old days, that would be 6 months from there to there. And where we are at the moment, that is about 4 minutes. So the example which we're going to talk about in a minute is an insurance company based out in Edinburgh, which we'll talk about soon enough. And they are basically releasing pretty much every 10 minutes of every day. So how do you do this as a security guy? And they're releasing all the time. I used to have to, in the old days, I'd have to read the specification, check the design, do threat modeling, someone was talking about that earlier, understand where the inputs and outputs, check HTTP, is it encrypted, is that database secure, GDPR, oh my God, this is getting hard. And I used to write standards documents, the big thick standards documents, yeah, standards of good practice, OWASP, yeah, NIST, it's getting thicker, I get paid by the page, I love this stuff. But then nobody read it because it was boring and no one really understood it, and I probably didn't understand all of it either. And then we went to see you guys who own pen testing companies. I've seen a few of you. If I order a pen tester now, I'll get them when they're 75 years old. So I can't even get pen tested this fast. I've just released, by the time I've read this, I've released 4 times. What's going on? So basically, Jerry and I started to get rather stressed, and we had to change the way that we worked. So I think there's the next bit. Is the next bit mine? Yeah,
Still
sorry,
you?
yeah, still me. Yeah, see, look, DevOps. Only just did this pack. The ink's still wet. So the way we did this is we said, listen, you can't write papers anymore. What you've got to do is actually, see this blue box here? You've got to do continuous testing. So I read the DevOps book. I realized that's what they do. DevOps software guys, they test and they test. They test automatically. There's no manual processes in their work because anything that's manual, you make mistakes. It's too slow. You can't do it. 4 minutes into Monday morning, you've already released 4 times. So what we decided to do was we ran a set of tests. Now, in your organization or where you're working, testing is going to be different. So we use the cloud. Anyone else use the cloud here? Anyone else absolutely horrified by the cloud here? You're all liars. Right, so we test infrastructure in our cloud. We have about £3 million worth of cloud per year, so we're sort of reasonably medium-sized. And we have 157,000 tests were done in 30 days through our infrastructure as code. So we're checking everything, every hour of every day. We're running tests against our infrastructure. Has that database got auditing switched on? Has that virtual machine got the ports secured? Has that Azure front door got its WAF switched on? All those little bits of configuration, we run them every day, every hour of every day. And essentially, there's just 1 or 2 situations that can happen. Your test passes, at which point everything is fine. Great. The coder can go on to the next story and get on with their work. If it fails, this is where things get quite exciting. And a few of you sitting at the front here will know that my code fails from time to time. So if a test fails, and it says, oh, wait a minute, your virtual machine, it's not looking good. I can see there's a red action here. Either the infrastructure as code was wrong, or actually the test was wrong. But the most important thing I want you to take away is if you're working in DevOps and you're the security guy and you're responsible for it, is this bit here, the healthy debate. And the healthy debate says, right, okay, why did my test fail? What's going on here? We've got a red blob on the alert system. What is going on? And you start to have that conversation with the SREs, the senior site reliability engineers, or cloud guys, as I call them. And you start to work out, actually, what is it? What is right? And once you have that debate, and you have an adult debate that says, okay, right, I'm starting to understand this. You think it's that. I think it should be like this. We're starting to get a little bit closer, maybe agree. That's where you start to either write risks. If your organization say, look, do you realize, Mr. Senior Guy, that your data that's sensitive, it's got all the customers' money in it, is not encrypted? And you say, well, okay, is that acceptable? And they go, well, no, we'll fix it. Or if they say, yeah, well, it's totally fine, I don't care. Start understanding the risks of the situation, then you can move on. We also test code, every line of code. There's lots of different tools out there. You can find them yourself. We just happen to use Docker, which is like sort of virtualization of applications. Test them, make sure they're up to date, make sure they've got no bugs in them, make sure that they're not really, really old Alpine 3.14 from about 2012. That would never happen. And also test all the third-party libraries, rather like the USB hack. People pick up Java libraries from the floor of the car park, it seems, and start using them. No matter whether it's like 10 years old and full of bugs and it's on CVE database with all sorts of ways in. Equifax, wasn't it? Equifax had an old version of Struts 2 on their website, basically, and it was found by the same company that we use for this. And it went in 6 months before and said, we're going to run a free trial. And they found the bug in Equifax and they said to management, buy our software. It's only 30 grand. And he said, can't afford it. I don't think anything bad's going to happen. The entire company of Equifax nearly went under because of it.
We think it was Equifax. It may have been someone else.
Was it? Someone else?
Could
Right.
be.
It could be.
be.
Right. Another company, everyone watching. Lead me away in cuffs. Basically, yeah. So essentially, you've got, if you don't discover this stuff and you're running in the cloud, which is always on the internet, you're going to get boosted. And when you get boosted, especially if you're a large financial or you've got some cool intellectual property as part of your solution, that's it, game over nowadays. There's no way back.
Okay, so I think it's important. I mean, we've hammered through a load of stuff there, and it's important to take a little pause and talk a little bit about this. And I do want to pick up on Callum's point, right? Because there's a huge amount in that box, that healthy debate, right? How do you, as a security professional, sitting among 100 developers, and I think the figures these days are, that's an industry figure, 100 developers to a security professional. How do you get among that melee of code generation, business owners, testing, security concerns, third parties, all of that? How do you insert yourself into that? Well, you got to go native, and we've gone native, right? We've started speaking their language. We've started using their processes. We've taken on the whole, the boomers can do it. We've taken on their whole sort of, we've taken on their whole approach, right? And said, okay, you can fight against this, but water runs downhill, you're better going with it, right? And actually, I think we've learned a lot from it. And I think that's part of what we're trying to be here tonight, to go, it's not something you should fear. It's the future of the industry. The trend towards manufacturing capabilities and the way in which manufacturing has been revolutionized, the way that a Tesla rolls off an automated production line and gives you those features and all that quality, that's what's happening in our industry, right? And we are the guys who make sure that cars aren't running off production lines with holes in the fuel tanks and get out there and blow up, right? That is our responsibility. We have a really serious responsibility. And I know we talk about DevOps, and then you go, where's the sec in that? And people go, sec DevOps, DevSecOps, DevOpsSec. The one I like is Securosis, who says it is DevSecOps. And it's DevSecOps because it's DevSec and it's SecOps. And security's in there twice, right? Because you're in the middle helping the developers create secure code and helping the ops guys come out the other end and operate it securely. So, how do you insert yourself into this melee? And this healthy debate is so important, and I think it took us a while to appreciate that. We sat at desks in the middle of all this melee of a new DevOps function being created sort of to disrupt the culture. And Callum had this great idea. He went, right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a desk in the middle of the building, and we're going to be the security guys, right? And we're going to put whiteboards around it. We're going to do all these things. But we're going to be visible. We're going to be right there in the middle of all this, and we're going to go, people can come and talk to us. And we're going to go out and we're going to talk to people. And it worked, right? And this is the end result of an approach that we think now works. But that was the bit that got us started at the beginning. Because in a sense, if you had a concern or you had something you're trying to do, you could come up and talk to us. You didn't raise a ticket, you didn't put in a request, you didn't have to get project codes. There was 2 of us, everybody else was there. Within a couple of months, you know everybody in the building because they've all come and talked to you. You put the security guard on Slack, didn't you? At the end, yeah?
Sorry about that.
No. So
He was bad cop. I was even worse cop.
So yeah, we did. You could talk to Callum first. You could talk to me first, and then if I didn't like you, I sent you to Callum or the other way around, right? So we worked this out. But the healthy debate is a bit where you get to know what's going on, and you get to put your expertise, your subject matter expertise, into the middle of a very important, very important customer-facing delivery. And I want everybody to understand that what we do in security is so important. We protect the organization, we protect the customers, and we protect the people who work for the organization, right? And I don't think that's always talked about. There are 3 parties that we have responsibilities towards, right? And in discharging all those responsibilities, you need to know what's going on. And in the DevSec operation, those teams scale. How do you scale with those teams? You might start with 2 feature teams, you might start with 3. There might be a consultancy comes in and puts in 15 feature teams, plus an infrastructure team, plus you need to do some work in security controls. How does that go? So healthy debate is your ability to get in the middle of it and say, actually, I want to talk about the facts. And the facts are this test is failing. And that might be because I don't know what I'm doing and we've made a mistake. And there have been many of those. It's been a great way to learn. Or actually, there is something about what you're trying to do that isn't passing our security tests. Now, we can work on fixing it, and I've got an opportunity to educate you and start a relationship. And if I help you fix it, then I'm giving you value back. And good relationships and power comes from soft power, where people do things for you because they want to. Not because of the old way where you're told and you must, but people help you where there has been a fair exchange of information, of help, of assistance, of knowledge, of training. And it puts you in the middle of that. It feels scary. It's difficult. The world goes at 100 miles an hour. But it can work. And I think that's why we're here today, to talk about something that we believe has worked. And we'll talk about the journey with the feature teams, and then maybe we'll talk about how it came to affect us eventually as well. So sorry, one last thing, I've almost missed it. There is another great opportunity on the back of this, right? And that is to create an audit trail. And I don't know who here in the audience is sitting here going, I'm an auditor. Going, oh my God, I want to run away screaming. Nobody's writing a thing down. They're sitting at desks talking about it. What is going on here? How in the name of God am I going to represent for a financial services firm that anybody knows what they're doing and it's not just kids in the playground? Well, what you want to do is you want to get to the point where you have evidence for audit. And this goes back a little bit to the responsibility and control. And there's a mantra you can live your life by. And that is, frustration is responsibility without control. You could be a very, very frustrated security professional who's responsible for the output of 15 feature teams and has zero control over what to do. While those feature teams go, actually, the controls you did have, I know I need those relaxed because I can't achieve my velocity. My business needs this. We're going to go under. The reason we're reorganizing ourselves is because everybody's faster than us. So out of the back of that, you're going, well, if audit comes, and normally they've come to me because I own the controls and I can represent for them, and the controls are going, and you're telling me you need that, then I'll give you the control. But with that comes the responsibility that you're going to be in front of audit. So what I'll do is I'll help you understand what that's going to feel like, because I will be there to help you understand what you'll need to show to them. And the testing we'll build together will give the outputs that will be usable by audit, that will show we're being reasonable in what we're doing, right? And now the relationship changes. And now it might actually scale and we might be able to cover all those things. And now we might be in a position where actually we can be transparent. You could almost invite audit in and go, look, this is what we're doing. Is it okay? Do we need to change something? Do we not? So there's a load of stuff in that. And off the back of that, with a lot of data, you can then start thinking about, what does my business care about? What is, in a good organization, we're there to control risks. That's what we do as security professionals. We find them, we fix them, or we articulate them and the business accepts them as part of the cycle of life, right? But a lot of the times that's qualitative. What if it could be somewhat more quantitative, going, actually, my appetite is that I could accept one new feature into production that's not quite there yet, but I do know when it'll be dealt with. But if I say that creeps up to 2, because the first one hasn't come down as a risk, then I'm going, that's a bit outside of appetite. And if I get to 10, hold the bus, right? We need to do something different here. So, and in a sense, I'm beginning to talk DevOps. I'm talking about metrics. I'm talking about creating metrics. I'm talking about consuming them. I'm talking about running your life sort of quantitatively. So we're getting there.
We've got a few examples of those, actually.
Yep.
So gamify. Everyone likes the game. So I've had to redact certain bits of this because they affect our feature teams. And so we use this. So we have a number of TV screens around the office, and maturity level 1 of getting information is to put it on a TV screen. Your security team never going to look at that screen, but you're doing it so everyone else thinks that you're looking at the screen. Damn it, I've just told everyone on the internet. It's not like that. So the way we fixed over 500 bugs in some of our software is we actually installed this on the managing director's TV screen in his office. And he was away in London that week, but no one else knew that. And it's got a lovely glass wall on it, so you can actually, as you're walking past, you can see what's on his screen. Of course, everyone looks. And so we've managed to fix huge numbers of bugs just by doing little tricks like that. And, and we have rotating screens, kind of like airport screens. We coded really badly, but they work. And the idea is you start using your APIs and your KRI information straight from your automated test. You start to get some really valuable information. You start to see, who do I need to speak to first? Which team is it that I need to focus my energy? So that you can manage this huge group of developers. I hope you like our top 10 hacker movies. I left that in. It's just written on the whiteboard behind thing. Definitely War Games. If you're not seeing War Games, count the number of threats in that. So also SREs, Senior Reliability Engineers. We tried to open the hood a little bit without giving too much of the game away of what we actually do, but they use Slack or Teams for communication. And what we have is we have this situation there when security tests fail, we start spamming their Slack channel. And that is the worst crime you can do for anybody who works in DevOps. If you spam their channel, then basically they'll fix things in minutes rather than hours. We have, here's just an example. This is actually genuinely, I didn't just choose, this was just the last one that happened. A little bug, someone was doing a release, made a little mistakes, but it was found in essentially 1 minute, 2 minutes, and fixed in 27 others. So it was all done. The other thing you need to do is, as a security guy, use automation, because you can give all the details. So we don't just say, hey guys, sorry, your stuff's broken. We say, look, there's a failure, it happened at this time, and for that reason, go and sort it out. And it's got the, this just happens to be one of our tests. We have hundreds of tests. In here, SQL Server found without some vulnerability assessment switched on. Not going to crash the company, it's not really that bad, but if you start driving the right behavior by having things like this, reds and greens, oh God, there's a red in prod, oh God, damn it, we need to fix it. You start to encourage and you start to gamify the situation. We actually gamified it probably a little bit too much and caused quite a lot of stress on some of our teams. So we're still experimenting with gamification, and actually you got to be. We'll probably talk a little bit about later in the end part of the slide deck. But just if you do gamification, sometimes your people will get really, really into it, and it could cause a lot of stress if you start showing reds all the time. So how do you code stuff?
Show me the code, Carl.
Show me the code.
Show me the code.
We employ security people who code, because not just coding Java. Okay, it's only like 10 lines of code or whatever for Java. It's not that hard to learn. But there are other things as well. It's like we're looking for people who've got that sort of investigative thing, can write KQL language, can write Bash scripts. You can do all this in Bash scripts. But the idea is you write code. And this is just a very, very simple one. We sort of follow a lot of the OWASP and NIST standards, and so we try to apply them as best we can. And what's this one? It's a public WAF. Oh, yeah. So in Azure, you can switch off bits of the security. We didn't want our team to do that because that's our standard. That's the way we want it. So myself and Jerry expressing our requirement as code. We don't write any of this stuff down. We just say, look, you pass our tests, you're good to go. That's it. And so this is an example, just a little test. There's if you've ever done any coding, there's lots of test harnesses you can use. Don't need to use. This is JUnit if you're interested. There are lots of other things like Inspec, and you can use, like I said, PowerShell or in AWS. You can just write basically Python scripts or whatever. But the thing is, so I wrote this about 9 months to a year ago, and it's since then run, hundreds of thousands of times. That's hundreds of thousands of bits of work that I never needed to do once I put a little bit of investment writing some code. So you can only have eyes and ears everywhere if you employ automation across your estate. If you're in a large organization with huge numbers of firewalls and you're starting to get firewall madness happening, write automation scripts, test everything. So if any change gets made within the 15 minutes that you run your test or every hour of every day, you more automatically get a notification, because it's much easier to reverse a situation moments after it happened than it is to wait until 3 months and something's in production, you're trying to fix it all back again. Use good tools and then stop using them. You shouldn't be using it. You're the security guy. Let the devs use some stuff. They're the experts. They're the experts at coding. This is, if anyone's not seen it, that there are other tools. This just happens to be Checkmark 6 SAST. And they're really nice, and this is where we found a little bit of reflected XSS. It's a difficult thing to find, and you really have to talk it through with developers of what it actually means. And but really, what you do is you give them the responsibility to fix their own stuff, and so give them the right tools. Buy this stuff, or build it yourself, or do whatever you can. Make it easier for them to do the right thing than the wrong thing. Other tools, investigate. We talked a little bit about this before. Get into the, be on the pitch playing the ball. Here's an example where someone's using a Hibernate library, and it's a bit buggy. And what's really interesting, this particular tool gives you a nice little thing. So when you have a little scroll bar left and right, so you can say to them, okay, you're using version, whatever it was, 5.3.6. If you use 5.3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 5.3.11, it's got less bugs, and it's more people are using it, so probably got better support. And they think, yeah, okay, we'll do that. And quite often when you're having these types of discussions with devs, they're too afraid to change libraries in their code because they're afraid of the ramifications of what it might mean to them and recompiling and doing all that sort of stuff. So, getting the right tools like this as part of your automated tests really help them. You're there to help them. It used to be in security a bit the other way around. They were there to suck up to you so they could get a sign-off. Turn it round. You're there to unblock them from doing their work, so they do really good stuff. Here's other good, cool tools. Some of you have used Docker and might recognize this tool. There's lots of different varieties to do kind of the same thing. You can start really looking at your Docker images and finding out what's actually going on. I've redacted the name of that top one. It's got quite a lot of, it's got 16 criticals, CVSS score of 8 or above. That actually turned out to be a third-party bit of software that we were ingesting into our system, and we're working with a third party now. But when you go to that third party with this kind of evidence, they go, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll help fix this up. But you've got evidence, you see? You've got evidence to be able to do it. These mocks we don't really care too much about mocks, which will only ever live in a test environment and so on. You can also get things saying, actually, that customer service, why is it connecting to China, or why is it connecting to a competitor? Really cool tools, but you've got to keep on it and keep it keep it automated. But it's not all about technology. So myself and Jerry were invited to a company called M&G. Now, there's a few people here who know that is. It's the new name for a company called Prudential, which you may have heard about. We're based in Stirling in London. They've now moved to Edinburgh, and they're just out in South Gyle. And we wanted to take this picture. Wave, guys. But they're all sitting there absolutely still, absolutely shocked. But these guys here. So it's about people, right? It's not about technology. It's about understanding people. And like the Romans, I'm not going to say who is the donkey. It's probably me taking the photograph. But all our tables are set out as 8 to 10 people. And it's done on purpose because you notice we don't have any telephones on the desk either. And that's because everyone in the team should be able to see each other all day. So there's no communication gaps. We're really lucky. We've got a great team. It's diverse. But the key thing is they're engineers. That's really, really important. They build stuff. And they make automated things better. We're not doing tick box consultancy, not looking at spreadsheets, not doing endless risk spreadsheets and that kind of thing. I just wanted to show that, and you probably see, look, there's our TV on the screen on the side there, and there's actually the same diagram that we showed earlier, but that's just the one drawn up in pen. So it's a really cool environment, and the M&G have built this office with lots of whiteboards you can write on the walls, and it's all that sort of cool friendly stuff. I'm told to say careers.mng.com if you're interested. Jerry.
Okay, so on the back of all of this, we've talked about the development processes, and we've talked about how you interact with feature teams, and I think we skipped over infrastructure a bit, right? So there's a bit of this which goes with it, where DevOps in the cloud, you tend to hear about them together. And there's probably a really good reason for that. Well, there's a couple of really good reasons, right? One really good reason is that actually DevOps is probably the only way you should ever be in the cloud. I hope there's nobody here who is in the cloud with an ops team. And I hope, and I'm not going to ask for any hands, right? But I'll tell you why.
He's looking at his feet over there. I don't know why.
I'll tell you
He's
why
avoiding
I
our
think
gaze.
that's going to end badly. And we're living this, right? We're in a cloud provision that changes all the time, that does not have great documentation, it lags, that entails finding out how things really work, and we've spent a lot of time on that. You and me know a lot more about APIs, and where APIs don't exist, what happens under portal calls, right? So that to me is a DevOps function. It's a development and build capability attached to a fit-for-purpose operational capability that has security in it. Because all the things that can go wrong on the on-premise behind your firewall in a controlled environment are turbocharged out in the cloud. And it's all great fun while you're developing out there, and hopefully nobody's using any customer data in your development environments. And you can have a sandpit where you can go and learn how the cloud works. But where the rubber hits the road and you're doing PII data in the cloud, and the cloud is changing, and the thing you configured correctly last month doesn't work the same way this month because who's got issues with software currency in their organizations? Come on, somebody has issues with supporting and holding on to out-of-date software. That's not an option in the cloud. Nobody says, do you want Google Cloud updated to Google Cloud version 13.2? It changes on you tomorrow. And those things that didn't happen because they weren't a capability last week suddenly do. Azure got static website provision for storage accounts. S3 buckets, open S3 buckets, anybody? And oh, the other thing is cloud controls are always off by default, right? So look at it that you go around and you turn everything on. You find everything you can and you turn it on. And then you pay a bit extra for it, and then you turn on the things that entails, and then you turn on things that entails. So unless you're doing DevOps and you're serious about this, you probably shouldn't be in the cloud, right? But when you are serious about it, the next thing you have to do is get an infrastructure team who can keep up with those changes and attach a security function to it. And then you're beginning to get ready to service feature teams and put stuff out there, right? But before you do that, I don't know. Don't ask me to consult on it. I'm not going to give you the answer you want, right? So DevOps and the cloud go together, and this approach is very, very good and is very efficient and workable when you get to it. And you can become your own feature. You can become your own business owner, right? You can actually then go, what does it feel like to be on the other side of the fence? What does it feel like to go, you know what? I'm the SME for security, and there's only a couple of us. Who's going to tell me what's the best way to do security? If I'm willing to, why can't I step up to the plate and be the business owner for security? If there was no problem with money, and there was no problem with development capability because you were given both of them, can you put your hand up and say that you could be a responsible business owner that understands the security outcomes you need for your organization? I would say if you don't, then actually there's an opportunity to learn by doing this, and you learn quite a lot. And if you do, then jump in there and do it. So one of the areas that everybody struggles with is fit for purpose security management. Monitoring, SOC monitoring tools, tool sets, the pace of change, the threats in the cloud. Well, it's cloud, cheap as chips. Put it in a sandpit. Find
Jerry,
the cloud vendors tools. Oh, you're not paying for it, yeah. Yeah.
There's quite a lot of people must work in SOCs here. Who works as a SOC responder or as a nobody? Right, okay.
Well,
one.
So to continue this, I suppose, is that an old style stock very much maybe uses a third-party product, has an engineering team that builds it gets it to a point in time. You then iterate over that quietly and slowly changing rule sets. There are frustrations because there's a lot of false positives. There's a lot of data sets that have come along that you haven't taken in, and one day you'll get to doing the cloud as well, but it's sometime in the future. Meanwhile, it's out there running important processing. So what do you do? Well, obviously, the easy thing to do is go native, do a SOC in the cloud. And we've represented for that in a way in that we started into this journey of, okay, we've got all the stuff configured correctly, and they're your protective controls, your enforcement. What about your detective controls? What about your monitoring controls? What about the things you don't know about? Or what about the fact that you're going to have an awful lot of things going on out there and you need to know what's going on with it, and doing some processes around it so you can create audit evidence. And you can actually get out there and build a SOC in the cloud. And that is very easy to do and very cheap. And if you follow the logic, you go, what I need is a development team and an operate team that will help me run that. And that's one of the things we do out of our cyber function. And once you've done that, there are other things you can do with it as well, which we'll talk about later.
Cool. Okay, so so empower your responders. So anyone who works in a SOC, sometimes you get a bit stuck in your career. You're just doing the same thing every day. You're responding. You're doing phishing emails. Blah 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 blah. Try to think how and what a DevOps cyber team can do is actually make it better for yourself. And we actually had a little bit of difficulty where responders were getting put into a very narrow sort of career focus. And so we said, wouldn't it be? But it just started asking us questions in the office. I want to know this stuff on my phone. And so we're getting some. We actually have this is Slack, the land of DevOps. Everyone has Slack. We're actually starting to pipe stuff into Slack and actually starting to use it so that when we get a some sort of alert pops up on my phone, just so I can see the highlight level. I've redacted bits and bobs, but you start to get some quite interesting things like unauthorized attempts to access a key vault. We don't allow humans to access key vaults where all your passwords and keys for the system are stored. We actually don't allow our people to do manual infrastructure changes in the cloud. Everything's got to be automated and through the system. So we look out for that kind of thing. Luckily, this stuff is all just test environments, so it wasn't too bad. Some of the guys here probably just clonked them on the head and they've never done it again. But yeah, so we actually monitor test environments as well. Quite a lot of organizations won't do that because it's too much work. But you've got to have this thing sort of business value, and I start skipping through this stuff really fast. But you start to think, try something out, do a little thing. No longer do you have to get like a business case and get funding allocated and all that. Just do it before anyone says no. And you go, oh my God, it works. Oh look, we worked out how to do cash out transactions from one same client. That's a bad thing. And that actually, this was actually a real example where we weren't doing that kind of thing. We did have fraud monitoring, but not that kind of thing. And we just showed it to the business. They meant, oh my God, we love that stuff. Here, keep taking money and sort it all out and do things. And we added it into lots of sprints, and we've been trying to understand that value cycle. And I've been in situations in the past at different clients where we've tried to get an extra person in the SOC team, and it's always been, oh, man, that's going to cost 40 grand a year, and that's really expensive, and we can't really figure it out. But if you start talking in the terms of the business and the way they understand, the money just keeps coming, and it makes it a much easier business case for people to fund your operation. I'll probably just skip through this slide. This is about how we use some of the stuff we were talking earlier in conjunction with monitoring. So what you do is you say, I really like it if my WAFs were logging, web application firewalls, and you run the test and think, oh my God, it's not working. And then you create the rule in your SOC environment, your SIEM, Security Information Event Management System. And then you start to run those. You start to actually see monitoring events where things are not expecting, and then you can actually investigate and work out what you're actually expecting. But we made the cyber team fast by basically automation and cloud. That's the big thing. As soon as you don't have to actually wire machines together, it just can do things so much faster. We're at the point now where we can tear down our infrastructure and recreate it every day if we wanted to. Just everything, just tear it all down, don't want it anymore. And that's great, because if you're a hacker and you've managed to get a bridgehead into an old Apache server or whatever, you start to move laterally through the system. I'm sure you've all done it. If that system is all torn down every single day so it doesn't exist anymore and replaced with another version, then you've lost all your momentum, you've got to start again. So it's fabulous. We actually separate cyber with consulting. I talked about this earlier about sign-offs, and with control comes responsibility. Jerry talked about that already. And another thing is that you can have teeth in DevOps. And you say, if it doesn't meet my test, it's not compliant, we'll just delete it. You knew the rules, you knew what the game was, just delete it. And the thing about business is they really understand the value when it's not there anymore. We've had to do this a couple of times. It's just one of those things that's part of life. But if there's one thing you take away is think about your security function, about unblocking the rest of the business, when historically it was the other way around, and you'll become a winner. We had an after show party. This is going to be quick, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be quick.
Right, so what we wanted to do is want to say, is it easy? No, it's not. It's really hard. It's desperately hard. Things move at such a pace. You have to automate to even stay in the game because these guys are fast. DevOps teams will be releasing all the time. You as security have to be there on it. And so we've started to pick out a few anti-patterns that we think will help. There's obviously a lot good about DevOps. We've shown you how we benefited from it, but we'd like to share some of the things. This is called red blindness. And this is a mistake that actually I made in that I was a bit aggressive with my tests. And when people see a sea of red like this, they switch off. They're not interested anymore. You've just lost the gamification game, and no one will bother. So what you have to do is think very carefully how you do your continuous testing and make sure you get enough green to give people that endorphin release. So when they see a red, they do something about it. Red blindness. For Agile, DevOps dude, super cool DevOps dude. Hey, I'm DevOps now. I can do whatever I like. And this is a misunderstanding of what DevOps is. I'm sure anyone in the big companies had their first Agile project. We have people doing this sort of stuff, and they turn up with non-standard things. They do non-standard software development in a really bad way. But even if you do DevOps really well in your technical organization, you actually need to roll out DevOps to everyone else as well. And quite often, you'll have a DevOps studio. Maybe you've got like 50 teams or whatever, your Legion, all doing their things. Then you go to HR, finance, or an outsourcer, and they go, no, sorry, we need a ticket, and we've got 3 weeks to respond to that ticket. Then we'll get back to you in 2. Then you send the order in triplicate, and then we need your grandmother, and then we need you to find the golden goose. So basically, you just can't. This doesn't work. This is fragile environment. So sometimes what we've found ourselves doing is actually trying to work out how do you actually get this stuff into the way that you operate as well. So don't forget, it's not just about technology, it's about everyone being on that same roadshow. Stress-induced return to waterfall. So this is where when it all goes wrong. You didn't pass your test, you're barred, you're stopped, we're deleting your stuff. Oh, but show me your requirements and standards. Suddenly the ball, where they've been living this beautiful DevOps lifestyle, goes straight back and say, no, you need to show me your standards. Just watch out for that. That's an anti-pattern. That's people obviously in a lot of stress, and you need to be there to help them get back out of that situation. And don't ever revert back to writing huge standards documents and all that sort of stuff. And basically you just say, look, our automation, you pass that, you're good to go. I'd like to see your design. Anyone who's actually worked in DevOps would say there is no design. The design is in thousands of Jira tickets and 400 whatever Confluence pages. Just read the code, they say, but it's written in some invented language. It's only like taught in Tibetan villages. And it's got no documentation in it. You've got absolutely no idea what it is. So if you ever see that, then you're into anti-pattern territory, and you need to move out of it as soon as possible. Geo-fragile. Anyone who works at big banks and big companies will see this. We say, we're doing Agile, and your team members are going to be all over the world. That doesn't work. It doesn't work because you need really good communications. Remember the team picture we showed? Everyone was looking at each other. Everyone was within a chocolate biscuit away from each other. That's pretty bad, although the jury's out about whether this works, where you've got your legion of teams, but the teams are all together, split up all over the world. I'm just not sure.
I think when you reach a maturity level and you're good at doing it, you can probably make it work, but I wouldn't start there.
So if your area says we're doing DevOps and you go to some of these things, just watch out. You can have a tough time as a security guy. We've seen a bit of both of these, and it's really difficult because you build up a really close personal relationship with people. That's how you get them to do things. But if they're all over the world, you're on difficult telephone lines, and you can't share screens and all the rest of it, it gets a wee bit tough. And we thought it's that time of year, and so we thought we'd leave you with this. Everyone knows what SU is, although the nerds will notice that it's in the wrong profile. Who does sudo reports instance to? Well, naughty or nice list. Right, so we've taken you on a whistle-stop tour of quite a sort of methodology-based thing about how you can make your life better in security as a security guy in big companies that are moving towards DevOps methodology. This also applies if you're working in startups. I actually own a startup, so I do some of this stuff as well. It's much harder in a startup because you've got no money and typically no people and nothing of anything, and you're trying to sell things. So, God, that ran straight from me. I crap myself. So I hope you enjoyed that. and we'll take any questions. There you go. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
One set, and you guys keep one set with your questions.
Okay.
Right, so any immediate questions for these two speakers, and then we'll run around with our two mics so that we can share them via YouTube. Any questions at all? Okay, looks like you've got off lightly. You've obviously covered the entirety of DevOps, DevSecOps, SecDevOps, and everything in between, so thank you very much.
So thank you very much. If there's no questions, awesome speakers. That was phenomenal tonight. Thank you all for coming. So our awesome speakers, all of our helpers that help put these together. Skyscanner, as always, who put on the great food and drink. Product Forge, who it's great to have these things streamed and have them available afterwards. And to everybody for attending. Do some networking afterwards. The most important bit tonight is the stickers. Sophie has stickers. Really, really funky.
Sophie has been
Skull and
tirelessly making sure that these have been separated, ready to be given out to the sessions. So we have Christmas-themed stickers, which we definitely should have thought about and put up on slides. You can see them zoomed in, but they're quite funny and a play on words. So feel free to come and get some free stickers if you so want them. And if you don't, then come get them anyway and give them to someone who does.
So thank you everyone again for coming. The next one's going to be here on February the 20th, which is the second day of Scott Secure, which we're also doing some stuff at. So it'll be great to see you there.
It's going to be a busy day.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.